So when I said, for example, that yes, there are elements of the Sharia, so obviously the question is always about cutting off of the hands and the stoning of the adulterer, this and that, and all these questions of the Sharia about, you know, this is a part of the Sharia. You all know me that I am not a progressive. I don't think we should get away with this. I am not somebody who wants to reform Islam inside out. I believe in our tradition, and I am a firm follower of the Sharia as it was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. At the same time, I'm pragmatic and realistic, and I try to be a part of the modern world. And so, when I said, for example, that yes, our Sharia did have these laws, and this is how it was for many centuries, that the thief's hand would be cut off and this would happen. But we, as American Muslims, we're not asking for this to be implemented as the law of the land. And it is true, I'm not asking for the constitution to be changed and the Sharia to be instituted. We understand that we're a minority. We understand that we have to obey the laws of the land. We're not asking for a revolution at all. We said this very clearly. So she had done her research, or she had been told this. So she goes, how can you believe in the Sharia and not want to cause a revolution and bring about a change in the laws? If you're faithful to your religion, because what they have been told, right, what Islamophobes tell them, is that every Muslim desires to overthrow the law and to institute the Sharia, right? Or else they're hypocrites to their religion. So she's basically getting this from her sources, then she's throwing it back at me. How can you believe in the Sharia and not want to cause a revolution? How can I trust you, basically, in this regard? And this is a very frank question. And I'm happy she asked it. I welcome any difficult question, inshallah ta'ala. And so I said to her, because we have precedent in our religion allows for this. Our religion allows for this. Our religion clearly allows that we live as a minority peacefully in a land without causing any harm to the majority, not wanting to overthrow the majority and the status quo. And the example of this is the Muslims of Abyssinia, which we're going to come to in 2 weeks from now, inshallah ta'ala. The Muslims of Abyssinia provide a role model framework for us as Muslims in America. And I have to be very frank here, brothers and sisters, there are many Islamic movements in the Eastern world whose goal is to establish a khilafah, right? I am not talking about them at all in the Eastern world. I will talk about them in the West. And I will say any movement that has as its goal to establish a khilafah should not be doing so in the Western world. This is naive, this is political suicide, and this is un-Islamic even. You cannot live as a minority in a majority land, and your goal is to overthrow the majority. This is foolish. You are deluding yourself. Neither does our religion allow us to be double-faced. We have to be very clear here. Our religion does not allow us. That's why I don't like the word secret da'wah. I don't like it. The da'wah is private, not secret. We are not allowed to in the masjid preach quietly, guys, we're going to want a revolution. And then public we say, oh guys, we're peaceful citizens. No, our message is the same. What we say in public, we say in the masjid. What we say in the masjid, we say in public. If we believe otherwise, we should leave somewhere else and not live here. This is my message to every Muslim. If you genuinely believe that you're not allowed to be a law-abiding citizen, then don't be a law-abiding citizen, go somewhere else. But don't be treacherous and don't live a double face, because that's going to cause harm to you and to us. So I told the lady that we have a precedence in our religion. I'm not criticizing the Sharia where it exists. I'm not criticizing the cutting off of the hand, Islamically. I seek Allah's refuge is a verse in the Quran. What do you want me to say to that? A'udhu billah from any Muslim saying this is jahiliyyah, is backward. Allah says in the Quran that when you catch the thief, then you cut off his hand. How can I criticize that, anywhere in the world? But I am saying, you asking me this question is irrelevant, because I'm not asking for it to be implemented here. I'm not asking for it to be implemented in America. We have the precedents in our religion of Muslims immigrating to Abyssinia, thousands, hundreds of them, not thousands, hundreds of them, and their condition to the Negus and the Negus condition to them was basically what we are, and that is, you let us be Muslims and we'll be a part of your society and be peaceful citizens, right? You don't interfere in our religion. We're not going to interfere, in overthrowing the laws of the land. The Muslims of Abyssinia did not plot and plan to overthrow the Najashi. The Muslims of Abyssinia were not planning to take over Najashi, right? Even when Najashi died and the next ruler came, they lived their lives. until finally the Prophet ﷺ called them back to Medina in the 7th year of the Hijrah. And this provides a working role model for us. It's not exactly the same, there are differences, but overall there's a working role model, and that is that we're allowed to live as minorities in a non-Muslim land, and we respect the laws of the land, and they in return should give us the freedom to be Muslims. If they don't give us the freedom to be Muslims, then we go and find somewhere else to live. We don't have the right to be treacherous. This is not a part of our religion. We're never allowed to be treacherous. Never. Khiyana is never allowed in Islam. And that is to promise somebody something and say, yes, I promise to be a law-abiding citizen, and then you go and you bomb and you plot. No. If you don't want to do, if you don't promise them, go somewhere else in the world, I'm saying, right? And you want to curse and preach against the country, go and do it somewhere else. But don't be a part of the society and give your land and your oath and your visa and your passport, and then in your heart and in your speech you are a traitor. That's not our religion. That's not our religion. And so I said, we have precedents in this regard. And when I told her this, you couldn't respond to that. But I mean, alhamdulillah, I firmly believe we do not have a problem Islamically to be a part of this country. Yes, there are issues we're angry about, and we resolve them in a legitimate manner. And that's my da'wah is always about this, inshallah. Going through the happy means, the middle, inshallah ta'ala.